What is up, everyone, and thank you for tuning in to Don't Say the F Word, Pro Wrestling and Combat Sports Podcast, where we do not use the F word whenever we talk about professional wrestling, and you should never, ever let your friends use it either. Today is Saturday, November 26th. We are at Survivor Series War Games Day, and we are going to take a look at what happened last night on SmackDown. We'll touch a little bit on Rampage, and we're going to kind of give some predictions for War Games and what we think could happen. I got myself, Jeremy. We're going to have Mark on the show here in a little bit, and let's hop to it and talk about what happened last night on the Go Home show just before War Games. WWE SmackDown came to us. It was a live show, not pre-recorded like Rampage was, which is always nice whenever you get a live wrestling show. But on the eve of it, we had some questions going into it. Where were Sami Zayn's loyalties going to lie? Would he be true to the bloodline and his honorary Uce status? We had a huge return last night. So that Becky Lynch returned, and she joined Bianca Belair's team for War Games, which there were a lot of rumors leading in to last night's SmackDown that we were going to see Becky return. That did in fact happen, and crowd went nuts. Good pop for Becky. Hopefully for her sake, they don't have her do the big time Beck's heel gimmick, which way too Conor McGregor-esque, to be honest. I think they should revert back to the man, which seems how the man character kind of debuted pre-Survivor Series a couple years ago. Kind of be the way to go, and just have her be an Irish badass, I guess, the way we used to view Conor McGregor. But let's take a look at the show kicked off with Becky's return, that promo. We got to a semifinal match in the World Cup, and it was Butch versus Santos Escobar. And I'm a big fan of Pete Dunne. I think the fact that he's been able to continue his workload and kind of doing his body of work and the Pete Dunne style, even though he's Butch and he's part of the Brawling Brutes. I was one of the people initially with that name change and them having him, rock the hat and be very much, I guess, kind of a mini Sheamus in a way. I think that I was a little concerned they were going to ruin who Pete Dunne is and kind of everything that made him such a big deal in NXT UK and in NXT and through the Indies. The Bruiserweight was always just so good to watch, but they continue to let him be the Bruiserweight without being the Bruiserweight Pete Dunne. Butch is essentially the Bruiserweight. There's not much in the way of variation other than entrance, presentation, and the fact that he's part of a faction. So I think they've done very, very good there. I think that Butch and Santos Escobar, I think they did a very good match. Escobar did get that victory. They did a lot with kind of the outside interference and having the factions working against each other. But I do think all in all, it's a more than average match. Those two really did a lot. I think that it got a little bit, I don't want to say it was stale. They slowed it down with all the extra stuff on the outside. And I think it had sense having the bloodline, jumping Drew McIntyre, who wanted to protect Butch ahead of War Games. But I think that doing that kind of took away from that match a little bit. But it's okay because the Brawling Brutes are part of a bigger storyline than the World Cup, which is simply a Fox tie-in to soccer. So that's not a big deal. I think that those two both delivered, and I think Escobar's really just put together some good matches on SmackDown. I think that I don't know. I don't know that I think that Butch is going to be someone who they're going to put toward a title contention, though, in SmackDown anytime in the near future, which I think is a little rough because we have the two main mid-card titles. You have the U.S. title and Intercontinental, and I think Butch would bring a lot to either one of those belts. It's rough. I almost wish there was another title, or maybe you could have Butch and Rich Holland working toward the tag titles once those get relinquished by the Bloodline. I would imagine that's going to happen around WrestleMania time. So maybe it'd be a good spot for Butch to be a good tag wrestler, and those two could run for a while as long as they keep the Brawling Brutes as a faction together. I think that'll happen. So who knows? We then had Bray Wyatt promo. They touched on him attacking LA Knight. Well, him saying he didn't do it. He didn't attack LA Knight. I think like, it's going to be interesting to see what we're going to get with Bray and the Uncle Howdy character and how that pans out. I mean, is Uncle Howdy going to be Bo Dallas, or is it just going to be some iteration of Bray in the future? Bray talked about how we all just want the Fiend, we want the monster. And I don't want the Fiend. I don't want that character again. That character was great in a very small window. I don't think that's a character that you can't really pit against somebody else. I think that if you have that character working against other superstars, it kind of hurts those other superstars more than it could ever help them. Now, I think if you have the Fiend character existing in Bray's mind, and Bray is the person fighting against that monster, well, that becomes a whole different thing, and that becomes a different layer to what the Fiend character can be and what Bray Wyatt can be. Is if you have him in a dispute with himself, in a conflict, and Uncle Howdy and the Fiend are all part of the bad that exists in Bray Wyatt. And when we get Uncle Harper, and we get some other of these elements, and we get perhaps, I don't know that we need to bring the kid show Bray Wyatt host back, and just keep him being what he's presented as the authentic Bray Wyatt, which is a manic-y version of himself. But having that parallel, I think that'll work. I think the spookiness of everything involving Uncle Howdy, and that he is the tear and all that, I think it makes sense for that to be Bo Dallas, and having his brother concerned about him going away from where he wants him to be, which would be on the side of evil. I think that's a really I think it's a dope element, and it gives some extra conflict there, and also gives the opportunity for a Wyatt family type of thing, which I think would be needed down the road, not necessarily as a faction operating, but just as a kind of the cult thing. But I think they can do a little twist there and make it a little different. That segment was really good, but saying a Bray Wyatt promo is really good. It's a little unnecessary. Hitting the backstage spot with LA Knight, I think it is good. I think they're putting LA Knight up. His promos are just, the guy's great on the mic. LA Knight is hilarious. I really enjoyed the spots with him. I enjoyed him as Eli Drake whenever he was doing the stuff in NWA and across the Indies. And the LA Knight character in NXT was very much that same thing. And what we're seeing on SmackDown is very much in the same world. So I think that's very good. But above average, B+ on the Bray Wyatt thing. I'm wondering how long they could find the ways to keep leading us on and not really getting us who it is who's behind Uncle Howdy. Or if maybe we don't even need it. Let me know what you guys think. Do we need to know who Uncle Howdy actually is? Or is it okay if we are kind of just being exposed to what may be Bray's hallucinations and things that are existing in Bray's mind? It's a little Fight Club-esque where we're seeing someone else's breakdown through their own eyes from a third-person perspective. It very much has those Fight Club layers into it, which I think is really cool to see in wrestling. We then got ourselves Hit Row versus Viking Raiders. I struggle with the Hit Row thing, just because it's not that they're bad in the ring, but I just we're a group of rappers thing. I think there needs to be kind of a bit more to the story of who the characters involved in Hit Row are. But the Viking Raiders, with Sarah Logan as, I think they're calling her Valhalla now. I think that's what they're calling her. Which they're saying that it's the name bestowed upon her by the gods, which I think is cool. I think it's cool to just lean more into the Viking lore with the Viking Raiders. And I believe, I think Sarah Logan's married to Eric, so I think, of course, that tie-in just makes sense. Those guys are just great in-ring wrestlers. They are very hard-hitting, everything's very aggressive, and they have this very smash mouth style. And Ivar can move really well for a guy his size. Him and Otis are they're big men who can move well, very much in the like of your Bam Bam Bigelows. I think that you need more big men doing that style. They're not Brian Cage level with his luchador big man style. But I think Eric and Otis are two big men in WWE who move very, very well. They don't move like lumbering big men. They have a lot of agility, and it puts together a very aggressive style that I really enjoy. I really, really like what they do. So we did have the Viking Raiders going over on Hit Row, which is more than okay, very above average match, B for sure, B level match. I think Hit Row is actually like, this match they looked really, like it looked a lot better than a lot of the recent weeks in their matches. I think Top Dollar looked good in the match. And I've not been the biggest fan of how he puts some things together, not to shit on it or anything, but him with the littler guys, it looked like he was working to keep them into his spots. And with the bigger guys, they would be more of a big man, just bulls crashing into each other. And I thought that was a good presentation for him. I thought he looked really good in the match. I think that one big takeaway for me from this is the entrance for Viking Raiders. They're treating these guys like top level stars. So I think we're going to see Viking Raiders keep moving up that ladder in the tag ranks. And I think that we could see a lot of good things to come for the Viking Raiders. They're not going to be the ones that dethrone the Usos. That's not going to be what they are. But a year from now, I think we could be talking about Viking Raiders being tag champs. And I don't see a reason why we ever break this tag team up. So I don't really feel like we're going to be down that road at any point in time. We then got ourselves another World Cup semifinal match. Ricochet versus Braun Strowman. I really liked that the commentary team in this match really talked about the fact that Braun made the comments about flippy floppers, bagging your groceries, and the things that Braun says on social media, which is really just Braun Strowman sticking a very sizable foot in his mouth constantly. I like to believe that that was done in character, and that was just part of the work, and I think that's probably what it is. I know that Mark was pretty upset because he's a big fan of a lot of flippy floppers, but I do think that that was all just kind of part of, the Braun Strowman character. And I think it was very cool how they worked around the idea of him and Ricochet at the end, kind of coming together, shaking hands, have a nice cool. And I think maybe we see a different version of Team, Big Little. You had Braun's known to team up with smaller guys, and he teamed up with Nicholas, and they won a tag titles. Maybe they do Braun and Ricochet together for a little bit until they blow up with each other. It's cool to have Ricochet come back out and help him after he got the victory. I think that they couldn't. Man, I think Vince's WWE, Ricochet would have lost this. But I think that Braun's WWE is cool to see them give. Triple H's WWE. It's cool to see that Braun was able to lose this to Ricochet, but still not look weak in the loss. I think, having the Imperium tie-in leads me to the concern that I had that they were going to have Braun be the guy to dethrone Gunther, and I don't think they can do that. That match will be good. I think Braun does a good big man versus big man matches. Him and Omos did a great match at Crown Jewel, but I don't think he should be the one to dethrone Gunther. But I do think, that match was a little above average, C+ for sure. Maybe even a B, honestly. It was entertaining the whole way through, but Ricochet always puts together a great match. I think that they did well there, tying storylines together. We also had the backstage segment kind of leading up to what the main event was going to be with Sheamus and Drew McIntyre versus the Usos. But our backstage segment was Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn with KO, just suggesting that Sami be more like him and look to turn on the Bloodline before the Bloodline can turn on him. And during this, Jey Uso was behind a door, kind of eavesdropping the entire situation. And I don't know what to make of this. All right, is this a candid fly on the wall camera situation? You would think Sami would have known that him lying to Jey and saying he didn't talk to anyone beforehand. He would think there's a camera right here. I think that Jey may have be able to go back and see that I was talking to somebody. But they did a very good, playing that seed of doubt. And we then had a Shotzi and Raquel Rodriguez versus Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler. I don't know really where they are going with this. This isn't really something that's booked for me to enjoy. I don't think Ronda, like, they can't figure out with Ronda heel, face. I mean, she's clearly playing the heel right now, but coming right off the backbone of her trying to be a babyface run, I'd imagine we're going to get this just leads to Shayna Baszler and Ronda Rousey feud leading up to WrestleMania probably, since they are friends, and you can quickly get to that dissension and Shayna Baszler winning that spot from Ronda and running that title. But then that whole segment, it just, I don't know, not for me. It's not, I mean, talking not even average, not really a great segment, I don't think, and it didn't really do a lot to build up the feuds or the match with Shotzi on the pay-per-view, so premium live event, sorry. So not really blown away by that. I mean, it's C minus D, honestly. But then we got the advantage match, Sheamus and Drew McIntyre versus the Usos. And Sheamus and Drew as a team is great. I love they did a great feud against each other also, which is really, you know guys have chemistry and they can feud and they can team well. It's like KO and Sami Zayn. They have some of the best matches of their careers against one another, and they team up well. So it always had that underlying, we came up together, we've been friends. That's such a great element to have, and I think that they can really do a lot with Drew and Sheamus in the future. So the tie-in of Drew with the Brawling Brutes, to me, I didn't see it coming. I had someone suggest to me that that was going to be the War Games team, and I didn't think it would be because they never really patched things up between Drew and Sheamus. And you know what? They didn't need to. Looking ahead of it, it not being the thing, I was doubtful. I'm like, this isn't going to be good if they just throw these guys together and don't fix the issues that they had. But then they didn't bother to fix them. And it was fine. I had no issue with the fact they didn't bother to fix them once they didn't fix them. These guys are a team that works, them being part of the same thing against the Bloodline, common enemy, and the enemy of my enemy is my friend. It works. It works perfectly fine. No complaints about it. The match they put together, with the Usos, really, really good. Sheamus, really, I think he hits the forearm thing he does, the beats of the batter on, I think, it was more than 15 times. But I don't know if he hit 20. I didn't keep count with the crowd, but he really just battered Jay up. They did a good spot with a near fall with Jay hitting the big splash. The Usos they're such a phenomenal tag team. They really are the best tag team of the current generation. That's WWE. If I throw it out everywhere, I mean, that's a tough conversation to even have. But WWE, I mean, they are the top tier tag team for their generation. The New Day is close, but I think you got to give it to the Usos. Their style changed over the years and just becoming more authentic to themselves, but a little bit of a play on them boys, the Briscoe brothers, but made for a WWE product. They really put together, a good match with Sheamus and Drew, and Sami Zayn, the star of the show. He teased using the tag title, and KO stopped him and rolled him into the ring, where that's caused the distraction to create the opportunity for the Usos to lose and for the Bloodline to lose the advantage going into War Games. I think that's, it seems to be kind of written. The Bloodline's probably, a lot of people feel like the Bloodline's going to win this. I don't know if that'll be the case, but I think that, you have a lot of good opportunities for some storytelling there, and you have an opportunity for Roman to take the loss, really. If KO can get his win back that he shouldn't have lost to Roman inside of War Games, he can get a victory over Roman, which gives us an idea that, KO could be the guy to dethrone Roman without actually taking the title off of Roman. I think that, that's an underlying opportunity there. If you're going to have, you need to build someone who looks like they're strong enough to beat Roman. Really, the only way to kind of get us there would be for Roman to take a loss at some point. And you can't have him just randomly take a loss. I don't know. I mean, who else takes the loss? You could have Jay take it. Sammy could take the loss. And if Sammy takes the loss, it can build some tension there. You can have you could have Sammy take the loss and have tension there that Sammy's the guy who cost the bloodline at War Games, and that could build toward the turn. You could have Jay take the loss, and that could be kind of the angle that you work. I don't know. I kind of feel like KO gets the victory over Roman is kind of how I feel this goes. Yeah, I think we do have a very good setup for the Survivor Series card. We'll probably come in here live from Twitch maybe, and we can take a look to see, you know, what's going on the card with Mark the Monster. And I think I'm gonna turn it over to Mark the Monster for Mark's minute, and he can kind of let us know where he's at with everything going on in WWE. Mark, you ready, bud? Yeah, boss, I'm ready. All right, Mark, what do you got going on for Mark's minute? Well, for Mark's minute, I just really want to talk about the fact that I think Roman is going to be the guy who loses at War Games for the Bloodline. I think that we're going to see Sami Zayn turn on the Bloodline at Survivor Series War Games. I think we're going to see, you know, some way for Sami to just align himself with Kevin Owens and get it so KO gets the victory. But I don't think that it's a situation where KO and Sami are actually, you know, going to be the best of pals. I think this is Kevin Owens working toward going back to being a heel again, and I think KO is probably going to turn on Sami after Sami turns on Roman, and everything's just going to be a really, really big mess. But my prediction is for sure Bloodline is not going to be victorious at War Games by hook or by crook or by Sami and KO. That's going to be the hook and the crook. All right, well, there we go. Mark has his opinion, and I kind of agree with the guy. I think we're going to see, you know, this be the way for them to get a loss to happen with Roman, where he can be pinned and KO can look like he could be the guy to dethrone him and, you know, have that victory over him in a sense. I don't think we have a full card. Let me take a look here. What is the full card for Survivor Series? I don't have it saved. So it looks like the full card, we're having the U.S. title triple threat matches: Seth Rollins versus Bobby Lashley versus Austin Theory. I think this is our opportunity for Theory to actually win. I think that it would be an opportunity. They're changing the character. Mark told us they would, and making him a bit more strong and aggressive. So I think whenever I'm looking at AJ and I'm looking at Seth Rollins versus Bobby Lashley versus Austin Theory, I think we're going to see Austin Theory take it. It's an opportunity to make him look strong, make him more aggressive, have him be the guy people are coming after. He can maintain his heel status and have people chasing the heel champion. I think Seth has passed the opportunity to be as a heel. He's so over, he's transcended heel and face. So he can have heel antics, you still got to cheer him. You need your champion, especially through the mid-card. Your champion needs to be a guy who's getting booed and has heat. And Austin Theory has that right now. So I think Austin Theory picks up the victory in that triple threat match. At AJ Styles versus Finn Balor, as we look at these two kind of representing their factions with the OC versus the Judgment Day. I think we're just going to get a great match. Like, it's hard for me to make a prediction here as to who I think actually takes the victory in this match. I think that we will see. I think the Judgment Day really needs to maintain looking strong. I think the OC because these guys are tied into being friends for so long, I think they can kind of afford for one of their members to take a loss. This feud's been going on for so long. Just give us the good matches. I personally don't care who takes this away, honestly. Like, it could be either guy. I'm a fan of both guys, so I don't really have a preference. I don't know. Mark, do you have a preference in kind of who wins the Finn Balor versus AJ Styles matchup? Well, whenever it comes to AJ Styles versus Finn Balor, I really foresee, I think it's going to have to be AJ. I think he's going to have to overthrow the evilness that is the Judgment Day. I mean, the Judgment Day has been working together since their days at Hot Topic, as they all got fired from Abercrombie and Fitch for being a little too dark and sinister, and they got their jobs working over there at Hot Topic. That these guys are all just darkness and evil, and they're just spooky kids, and I don't know, I don't really like the spooky kids. All right, well, I guess that makes sense. I don't think they all work together at Hot Topic. I understand why he thinks they all work together. I don't think they all work together at Hot Topic. Then we have Ronda Rousey with Shayna Baszler versus Shotzi. I think, Ronda wins. I don't think Shotzi was built up to be, a contender. Who do you have really beat Ronda for that belt? We have the Women's War Games match, which is Bianca Belair, Becky Lynch, Alexa Bliss, Asuka, and Mia Yim versus Damage Control, Nikki Cross, and Rhea Ripley. Feel like we brought Becky Lynch back, so it's probably gonna end this with Becky beating Rhea, maybe, or if you want to put more heat on Rhea Ripley, Rhea beats Becky. I don't think you have the team captains that aren't going to be part of the finish to this. I think it's going to be separated out. Men's War Game match is Brawling Brutes, Drew McIntyre and Kevin Owens versus the Bloodline. I'm going to predict that the Bloodline loses with KO, pinning Roman Reigns with I think it's going to be someone's going to cost Roman. It's either going to be Jay or it's going to be Sammy. But someone's going to create the situation where Roman gets pinned by Kevin Owens. I think maybe it's a double. Maybe you have Jay and Sammy both make a mistake that costs Roman and puts Roman in a situation to get pinned by Kevin Owens. I think that'd be kind of a cool way to do it. You kind of build that animosity there between those two a little more. It's your fault. It's your fault. Roman don't care. The head was pissed. It's somebody's fault. Maybe that's the angle through December is Jey Uso versus Sami Zayn, and look to see kind of what happens there between those guys. And they kind of continue to build and let Sami still be part of the Bloodline, but there's still some more conflict that happens, and they can keep building that story. But I don't think the Bloodline wins War Games. That's my final. I don't see the Bloodline winning War Games. I think that they have to let Roman take a loss somehow, some way, and this is a good way for it to be someone else's fault that he takes a loss to Kevin Owens. And it gives us a viable competitor for the title as we look toward Royal Rumble and the road to WrestleMania. So you can have that feud happening of, is it going to be Roman Reigns at WrestleMania that whoever wins Rumble faces, which, fingers crossed, Cody Rhodes is the winner of the Rumble, and we can go from there. But that is it, guys. That's our recap for last night's SmackDown, our bit of a preview ahead of Survivor Series War Games. And we're going to take a look at what we can do. We'll broadcast live either through Instagram or through Twitch. Kind of cover some things as they're happening and kind of our reactions. And Mark's got some reactions. He loves this stuff, and he hopes you guys check us out. Follow us on TikTok and Instagram at Don't Say the F Word Podcast. We just got the Twitch thing up and going, and we're gonna be playing around with that. So you guys can use Twitch, follow us over there. We're also on Facebook at Don't Say the F Word Podcast. Please be sure to like, subscribe, and share the podcast with all your friends. We do appreciate it. You guys take care, and we'll see you later today.